The aliens gave humanity 60 rotations to surrender every weapon it owned. Earth answered with one sentence. The vote passed inside the Celestial Assembly faster than anyone expected. 136 species approved it. 3 stayed neutral, none opposed. For a government that usually spent weeks arguing over trade routes and border language, this was almost impossible. The Human Disarmament Order had been prepared quietly, hidden inside private committees, and placed on the official schedule with only half a day's warning. Earth received the same warning as everyone else. High Speaker Velkar of the Arveth Dominion stood at the center platform, silver robes glowing beneath the cold white lights. He was tall, thin, and perfectly still, like a ruler standing over something already defeated. "The Assembly confirms the decision," Velkar said. "All military vessels, orbital weapons, defense stations, and hidden combat systems belonging to Earth and its colonies must be surrendered within 60 standard rotations. Inspection teams will verify full compliance." A quiet wave moved through the chamber. Some delegates looked satisfied. Some looked nervous. Most looked relieved. They believed the dangerous young species had finally been placed inside a cage. At the lower side of the chamber, Earth's representative, Ambassador Maya Sen, sat behind a small black table. Her seat was far from the central powers, placed behind older member worlds, as if Earth was still a student being allowed to listen. Maya did not move. She wore a dark navy diplomatic coat with only one symbol on it, a small blue and white Earth pin. Her hands rested calmly on the table, but her eyes studied every face in the hall. She was not surprised. That was the first thing Chief Strategist Cale Morvain noticed from the observation gallery. Maya Sen was not angry. She was not frightened. She looked like someone who had reached the last page of a report she had already read. Velkar turned toward her. "Ambassador Sen, Earth has 10 rotations to submit its formal response. Do you wish to speak now?" Every head in the chamber turned. Some expected protest. Some expected begging. Some expected humans to do what humans always did when cornered, make noise. Maya looked up slowly. For 1 second, the entire hall waited. Then she said, "Earth will answer properly." That was all. No threat, no explanation, no performance. Velkar blinked once, then moved to the next item on the schedule as if humanity had already accepted defeat. In the observation gallery, Morvain smiled faintly. "They are afraid," he told his assistant. "That is what silence sounds like when a young species finally understands power." He wrote it down. Below, Maya Sen stood and left the chamber without looking back. In the secure transport tunnel, a young human officer handed her an encrypted tablet. Maya waited until the transport doors sealed and the security scan turned green. Only then did she type a message to Earth. No diplomatic language, no official speech, just one line. "They passed it. 60 rotations. They think we will kneel." She stopped for a moment, then added the words that had not been used in 30 years. "Begin Stone Vale." Far away, beneath the mountains outside New Geneva, General Elias Ward received the message inside a windowless command room. He read it twice. Then he looked at the officer beside him. "Wake the council," he said, "and contact Admiral Voss." The officer went pale. "Sir, Stonevale?" Ward's face did not change. "Yes," he said. "They finally made the mistake." The Assembly thought it had given Earth 60 rotations to surrender, but Earth had not spent 30 years preparing to surrender. It had spent 30 years preparing for the day someone was foolish enough to ask.
General Elias Ward did not raise his voice. That was what made the room obey him faster. Inside the underground command center below New Geneva, the emergency did not look dramatic. No siren screamed, no red light spun across the walls. The humans who built this facility had understood one thing clearly. Panic wastes seconds, and seconds decide history. Within minutes, 12 council members entered the chamber. Some had been pulled from sleep. Some arrived in formal jackets thrown over plain shirts. Others came already dressed for war, though nobody in the room wanted to call it that yet. A star map opened above the table. Earth space glowed in soft blue. Assembly territory burned in gold. Between them stretched the gray neutral corridors where ships could disappear if they knew how. Ambassador Maya Sen appeared on the main screen from her secured transport, still moving away from the assembly station. Her face was steady, but the room could feel the weight behind her eyes. Ward stood at the head of the table. "The order passed," he said. 60 rotations, full disarmament, total inspection access. Civilian Minister Lena Holt leaned forward. "Can we delay them legally?" Ward looked at her. "We can. They expect delay." "Can we negotiate?" "They expect that, too." The room tightened. Ward touched the display. New lines appeared across the gray zones, unregistered routes, false cargo lanes, old emergency paths, and silent shipyards marked only by numbers. This is not a request, it is a measurement. They want to know whether humanity can be reduced without a battle. Maya spoke from the screen. "Velkar thinks the vote scared us. Morvain thinks our quiet response proved he was right." Ward nodded once, then let him enjoy being wrong for a little longer. He said the words everyone in the room had hoped would remain buried forever. "Stone Veil begins now." The star map folded into deeper layers. Some human fleets had already left official patrol regions months ago. Some had been moving under civilian names. Some existed only in sealed ledgers. Some ships had changed shape so completely that even their old captains would need a moment to recognize them. Admiral Talia Vaz appeared on a second screen. Behind her, the bridge of the EHS Resolute was dim, only lit by blue instruments. Her ship was far beyond normal patrol lines. "First silent group is ready. Fourth group is moving. Ninth is already behind the outer markers." "Assembly detection?" Ward asked. "Only the crumbs we left for them." Nobody smiled, but everyone understood. For years, the Assembly had watched Earth. Earth had studied the Watchers. Ward moved to another file. Site 9. Engineer Omar Halim appeared next, 42 years old, tired eyes, rough beard, and the expression of a man who had spent his life maintaining systems too dangerous for public maps. "I can leave within 6 hours," Omar said. Ward did not watch him closely. "Do you know what happens if the system wakes incorrectly?" Omar's jaw tightened. "Then half the border goes blind permanently, and everyone knows we touched it. Then make sure it wakes clean." Omar did not speak with pride, only certainty. It will. At the end of the meeting, Maya remained on the screen after everyone else left. "They think our weapons are the problem," she said. Ward looked at the map. "No, their problem is that we remember." Maya understood, and memory plans ahead. Ward turned off the display. Exactly. While the assembly waited for panic, humanity began moving like a machine built in secret. And beyond the edge of the solar system, Site 9 was about to wake for the first time in 30 years. Site 9 was not on any public star chart. From the outside, it looked like a dead communication station drifting near the dark edge of human space. Its outer shell was scarred, old, and covered with dust from years of silence. Assembly scanners had passed over it many times and marked it as abandoned infrastructure. That was exactly what Earth wanted them to believe. Engineer Omar Halim arrived 6 hours after Stone Veil began. His small transport docked without lights. No welcome signal answered. No automated voice greeted him. Only a narrow airlock opened, slow and heavy, like a buried thing remembering it was alive. Omar stepped inside with one toolkit, one encrypted tablet, and a fear he kept hidden behind careful breathing. The corridor lights came on one by one, not bright, just enough to guide him deeper. Behind the walls, hidden systems began recognizing his presence. Security doors unlocked, power moved through buried cables. Somewhere below the metal floors, machines that had not spoken in decades began whispering in code. Omar reached the central control room and stopped. 12 screens surrounded a single black console. Each screen showed a different section of the border between human space and assembly territory. Monitoring posts, relay towers, sensor gates, communication lines. The assembly had built all of it to watch Earth. Earth had spent years learning where each eye blinked. Omar placed his hand on the console. The system scanned him. For 3 seconds, nothing happened. Then a message appeared. Stone Vale Authority accepted. Omar exhaled slowly. Good, he whispered. We wake gently. While Omar worked in the dark, the assembly celebrated in public. News networks across the core worlds described the disarmament order as historic. Political speakers praised Velkar's courage. Analysts said Earth had finally been contained before its violent nature became a galactic threat. Chief Strategist Cale Morvain watched the reports from his private office and allowed himself one quiet moment of satisfaction. The humans had not shouted. They had not challenged the vote. They had not even sent a dramatic response. To Morvain, that meant the pressure was working. But in the intelligence wing, analyst Sierra Venn was not comfortable. She was a thin, four-armed Karath officer with sharp eyes and a habit of checking every number 3 times. She had studied species under pressure for 20 years. Fear had patterns, resistance had patterns, surrender had patterns too. Human behavior matched none of them. By the 3rd rotation, military traffic near Earth had dropped. By the 5th, several defense stations filed maintenance notices. By the 7th, civilian cargo vessels began leaving Titan, Mars, and the outer colonies in smooth, normal-looking waves. Too normal. Sierra pulled old human records. When humans were angry, they argued. When humans were afraid, they built. But when humans became quiet, history showed something worse. They had chosen a direction. She sent her first warning to Morvain. Human compliance pattern is unusually clean. Recommend deeper review. His reply came 3 hours later. Expected fear response. Continue observation. Sierra read the answer twice. Her hands tightened. Because the more she watched Earth, the less it looked like a species giving up. It looked like a stage being cleared before the main act. On Site 9, Omar completed the first activation sequence. One hidden system came alive, then another. Across the border, assembly monitoring stations continued reporting normally, but every signal now passed through a human shadow first. Omar sent one short message to General Ward. First layer awake, no detection. Ward received it in New Geneva and looked at the star map. For the first time that night, he almost smiled. The assembly believed it was watching surrender, but the border's own eyes had already begun reporting through Earth's hands. And the first person to feel the danger was not a ruler. It was an analyst nobody wanted to hear. Sierra Venn did not sleep that cycle. Her warning had been dismissed, but the numbers kept moving with unnatural smoothness. Earth's public channels were calm. Its military records looked clean. Its government statements sounded respectful. That was the problem. Respectful fear was common. Respectful preparation was far more dangerous. Sierra opened every file she had on humanity's older conflicts. She studied how human nations behaved before major turning points. She found the same pattern again and again. Noise first, arguments, public anger, confusion, then a sudden narrowing of attention. Human societies did not become quiet because they had no answer. They became quiet when too many people were working on the same one. By the 9th rotation, Sierra sent another report to Chief Strategist Cale Morvain. This one was longer. She attached traffic charts, defense logs, civilian movement data, and comparisons with known human crisis behavior. Her final line was simple: Earth may be shaping the evidence we are receiving. Morvain read the report during a breakfast meeting with 3 political aides. He disliked that sentence immediately, not because it frightened him, but because it disturbed the perfect victory he had already begun enjoying. He called Sierra to his office. She arrived 10 minutes later, standing straight, all 4 hands folded behind her back. Morvain did not offer her a seat. "You believe the humans are hiding something," he said. "I believe the picture is too clean. That is not evidence." "No," Sierra said carefully, "but it is where evidence often begins." Morvain's gray eyes narrowed. "You are allowing human reputation to influence your judgment." "With respect, sir, their reputation exists because their history earned it." The office became very still. Morvain walked to the window. Beyond it, assembly ships moved in graceful lines around the capital station. Everything looked ordered, controlled, safe. That was what he had promised the assembly: safety. Earth is young. Strong engines and loud soldiers do not make them equal to us. Sierra kept her voice level. "No, sir, but ignoring their behavior may make them ahead of us." Morvain turned back. "Your next report will contain only confirmed data, no dramatic language, no theory." Sierra lowered her head slightly. "Yes, sir." But she left his office more worried than before. Because Morvain had not asked what Earth might be hiding, he had only asked her to make the warning quieter. Far away, near the outer human boundary, Omar Halim moved into Site 9's second lair. The room around him hummed softly now. Screens showed assembly border stations, each one still operating as if nothing had changed. Their crews had no idea that their systems were being mirrored, delayed, and gently corrected before any data reached the capital. Omar did not enjoy that power. That was why Ward trusted him with it. His tablet blinked. A new order from New Geneva. Prepared temporary blackout capability. No damage, no casualties. Demonstration only. Omar stared at the words. Then he looked at the border map. 12 assembly stations glowed in gold. He understood what Ward was planning. "They need proof," Omar whispered. His fingers moved across the console. One by one, the systems accepted the command. Not active yet, waiting. In New Geneva, General Ward stood with Admiral Talia Voss on a secure screen. "How much do we reveal?" Ward asked. Voss answered without hesitation. "Enough to stop arrogance, not enough to satisfy curiosity." Ward nodded. "Good. Mystery does more work than numbers." Sierra's warning had been buried under pride, but Earth was almost done setting the stage. Soon the border would go dark, and the assembly would learn that silence had not meant surrender. It had meant access. Admiral Talia Voss ended the secure call and stood alone on the bridge of the EHS Resolute. The ship was running silent. No bright bridge lights, no open signals, no unnecessary movement. Around her, officers worked in quiet focus, their faces lit by soft blue screens. Beyond the main viewport, deep space stretched endlessly black. But the darkness was occupied. Hundreds of human vessels waited beyond normal patrol lines. Some were old carriers with new cores. Some were defense cruisers removed from public records years ago. Some had once been cargo ships and now carried armor beneath civilian shells. They did not look desperate. They looked patient. Voss studied the tactical display. First silent group? Holding position, Admiral. Engines cold. Fourth? In shadow formation. Ninth? Already beyond the outer markers. Voss folded her hands behind her back. Then we wait for Ward's word. On Site 9, Omar Halim's eyes burned from hours of concentration. He had not eaten, he had barely moved from the black console. The temporary blackout command was ready, but he kept checking it again and again. No destruction, no casualties, no permanent damage. That was the line. Humanity was not trying to begin a war. It was trying to make one too expensive to choose. His screen flashed. Authorization received. Begin border demonstration in 30 seconds. Omar swallowed. His hand hovered over the final control. For one brief moment, he thought of the crews inside those assembly stations, ordinary officers, technicians, people who probably believed they were only watching a nervous species give up its weapons. They were about to learn that Earth had been watching back. The countdown reached 0. Omar pressed the command. Across the border, 12 assembly monitoring stations lost their vision at the same time. Not violently, no explosions, no broken hulls. Their screens simply went blank. At Outpost Charon, Duty Officer Lef Mar stared at her console in confusion. One sensor line disappeared, then another, then the station beside hers went silent, then the next. She tried a reset. Nothing. She tried backup channels. Nothing. Within 40 seconds, the entire border web facing human space became a wall of darkness. Lef's throat tightened. She hit the emergency alert. In the assembly intelligence wing, Sierra Venn was already at her desk when the first warning arrived. She saw the blackout spread across the map and felt her body go cold. It was too clean, too controlled, too carefully temporary. She sent one message to Morvain. "Sir, the border has gone blind. This is not a malfunction." Then she added a second line. "I believe Earth is choosing what we see next." This time, Morvain answered immediately. "Come to command, now." When Sierra entered the emergency operations room, Morvain was standing before a massive display. Military officials, communication officers, and political aides surrounded him, all speaking too quickly. Morvain turned toward her. "What are we seeing?" Sierra forced herself to breathe. "A controlled demonstration." One officer snapped, "An attack." "No, if it were an attack, those stations would be wreckage. They are disabled, not destroyed." Morvain's jaw tightened. "You are saying Earth can blind our border without firing? I am saying they just proved it." The room fell silent for half a second. Then, long-range sensors beyond the dead stations detected movement. At first, only dozens of contacts appeared, then hundreds. Then the system began to struggle to count. Ships were emerging from regions the assembly had marked as empty. Morvain stared at the display. His victory had started to crack. The assembly wanted proof that Earth was still dangerous. Now, the proof was moving through the dark in perfect formation. And the worst part was not how many ships appeared. It was that Earth seemed to be choosing which ones they were allowed to see. Morvain stood frozen before the command display. The first wave of human ships moved out of the dark like they had always belonged there. Their formations were wide, disciplined, and silent. No warning shots, no threats, no panicked rush toward assembly territory. They simply revealed themselves. That made it worse. Panic could be dismissed. Control had to be respected. An officer near the sensor table spoke with a shaking voice. "Current count is 900 contacts." Another screen blinked. 1,200. Then another. 1,700. The room became colder with every number. Morvain turned sharply. Classification? The officer swallowed. Mixed profiles. Some match old Earth cargo vessels. Some appear to be heavy cruisers. Some do not match any known military class. That is impossible, Morvain said. Sira Ven did not correct him. Everyone in the room could see the correction on the screen. The ships continued spreading across neutral space. They were not crossing the border. They were not attacking. They were holding position with terrifying patience. Then every open channel in the command room activated at once. A human broadcast entered the system. No static, no delay, no permission request. Admiral Talia Voss appeared on the main screen, standing on the bridge of the EHS Resolute. Behind her, through the viewport, human ships filled the darkness like stars arranged by command. Her voice was steady. This is Admiral Talia Voss of the Earth Defense Navy. Human vessels are holding in neutral space. We have not entered assembly territory. We have not fired on your ships. We have not damaged your stations. Morvain's hands curled into fists. Voss continued, as if she already knew what they would say. Your border stations are intact. Their crews are safe. Their systems will return when we release them. The room absorbed the words slowly. When we release them. Then a second screen opened. Ambassador Maya Sen appeared from an undisclosed location. Her background was plain and dark, impossible to trace. Chief Strategist Morvain, Maya said, the human disarmament order was built on a false assumption. Morvain opened the command channel. And what assumption is that? That Earth's strength is limited to what your inspectors can count. Nobody spoke. Maya leaned slightly forward. For years, your reports described us as emotional, divided, and immature. You confused debate with weakness. You confused patience with fear. And today, you confused a quiet answer with surrender. Morvain's voice hardened. This display will be treated as military intimidation. No, this is restraint with evidence. The words struck harder than any threat. On another console, the ship count passed 3,000. One military officer whispered, "How much of their fleet is this?" Voss answered before anyone could ask officially. What you are seeing is less than half of active human deep space defense capability. The command room broke into noise. Morvain paled. Less than half. Maya's voice cut through again. You asked us to become harmless. We are here to explain why that was never an option. She paused. Then came the line nobody wanted to hear. If Earth wanted war, you would not be watching this broadcast from a working command room. Morvain had no answer, because every screen around him was still alive. Every officer was still breathing. Every assembly world was untouched. Earth had not come to destroy them. Earth had come to remove every comfortable misunderstanding at once. Morvain had built the order to make humanity kneel. Instead, humanity revealed power without firing. But some leaders would rather risk disaster than admit they had misjudged the room, and High Speaker Velkar was about to become that danger.
High Speaker Velkar did not enter the emergency command room immediately. He waited, not because he was calm, but because he wanted his absence to feel powerful. He believed fear should make others look toward him. But when the human ship count crossed 3,000 and continued rising, he arrived with 4 security officers behind him. Everyone turned. Morvain looked relieved for half a second, then worried again. Veltar's silver robes moved like liquid metal as he stepped toward the main display. Admiral Talia Voss and Ambassador Maya Sen remained on the screens. Behind Voss, human ships held their positions in silent formation. Velkar stared at them with cold anger. Then he opened a direct channel. "Ambassador Sen," he said, "Earth has committed a hostile act
against assembly infrastructure and displaying military force near protected space. Withdraw your vessels immediately or face unified response. Maya did not blink. Unified response requires unity, High Speaker. Velkar's face tightened. It was a small sentence, but everyone in the room understood it. The assembly was no longer moving as one. Private messages were flooding between delegations. Smaller worlds were asking why Earth had been pushed so hard. Trade partners were calculating what a human break would cost. Border species were quietly distancing themselves from the crisis. Velkar refused to see the fracture. "You are threatening the assembly," he said. "No, we are refusing to be stripped. That is rebellion. That is survival." Velkar turned toward Morvain. "Contact the defense fleet. Order them to advance to the neutral line." Morvain hesitated, only for a heartbeat, but Velkar saw it. "Did you hear me?" Morvain's voice was careful. "High Speaker, the Defense Fleet Commander has requested clarification." Clarification. He wants to know whether he is expected to intercept thousands of human vessels without confirmation of their full number, hidden positions, or weapons range. Velkar's anger sharpened. Cowardice has infected the fleet. Sira Ven stepped forward before she could stop herself. "No, High Speaker, mathematics has." Every face turned toward her. Velkar looked at Sira as if she were something that had crawled onto the floor. "Who are you?" "Sira Ven, Senior Intelligence Analyst." "Then analyze quietly." Sira's throat tightened, but she did not step back. "With respect, sir, if we move the defense fleet forward, Earth may reveal more forces. If we fire, we may not control what follows. Their first action was reversible. That means a door still exists. And you suggest we walk through it like frightened animals. I suggest we do not lock it from the inside." For 1 second, nobody breathed. Then another alert sounded. A new human signal entered the room, not from the fleet, not from Maya, from deep inside assembly communication space. Omar Halim's system at Site 9 touched every major relay for exactly 2 seconds. No damage, no blackout, just a clean pulse. Across the display, one message in every assembly language appeared. "We can reach further than you believed. We have chosen not to." Velkar's expression changed, only slightly, but everyone saw it. Maya spoke again, quieter now. "High Speaker, this is the moment history will remember. You can make it a war story, or you can make it the day both sides stepped back." Velkar said nothing. For the first time, he understood Earth was not asking permission to survive. Earth was offering him a last chance not to be remembered as the fool who tested it. Velkar wanted fire. Sira saw disaster. Morvain saw his plan collapsing. And while the command room shook under pressure, one neutral senator was prepared to break the coalition in front of everyone. Senator Arlen Thorne of the Vey Republic stood alone in a side corridor outside the emergency chamber. His hands rested against the cold metal railing. Below him, assembly officers moved quickly between rooms, carrying orders that might become history or disaster. Arlen had not supported the disarmament order with joy. He had supported it because Morvain had promised control. No war, no risk, no human retaliation, just a clean political move against a young species before it became too powerful. Now thousands of human ships waited in neutral space, and Earth had touched the Assembly's communication heart without breaking it. That was not chaos, that was discipline. Arlen opened the private message Maya Sen had sent him 2 rotations earlier. It contained only one sentence. "When the room stops pretending, choose the future carefully." At the time, he thought it was diplomatic theater.
Now it felt like instructions. He walked back into the emergency chamber. Velkar was still near the main display, arguing with Defense Fleet Command. His voice was sharp, his pride was louder than his strategy. Morvain stood behind him, quiet now, as if every word he had prepared had lost its usefulness. Sira Ven watched the screens, pale and tense. Arlen stepped into the center of the room. "I request the floor." Velkar turned with visible irritation. "This is not a public session." "Then make it one," Arlen said. The room went still. Velkar's eyes narrowed. "Explain yourself." Arlen straightened. "My delegation withdraws support for the human disarmament order." The words landed like a physical blow. Morvain's head lifted. Velkar stared at Arlen as if he had betrayed not only the order, but reality itself. "You do not have authority to reverse a past decree alone," Velkar said. "No," Arlen replied, "but I have authority to state that my government will not provide ships, votes, money, or legal cover for a war born from arrogance." A low murmur spread through the room. Maya's image remained silent on the screen, but her eyes moved carefully from face to face. Arlen continued, "We were told humanity would complain, delay, and submit. We were told this was safe prevention, but Earth did not threaten our worlds. Earth did not burn our stations. Earth showed us exactly how much damage it could have done, and then chose not to do it." He turned toward Velkar. "That choice matters." Velkar's voice became cold. "You are frightened." "Yes," Arlen said. The honesty shocked the room more than any argument. "I am frightened because I can count. I am frightened because Earth is calmer than we are, and I am frightened because this assembly is being asked to turn a reversible warning into an irreversible war." Sira lowered her eyes. For the first time, someone with political power had said what she had been trying to prove. Then another delegate opened a channel. "The Narith Union suspends support." A third followed. "The Caldron Worlds request immediate legal review." Then two more, then five. The coalition did not explode, it loosened thread by thread. Morvain watched 14 months of planning begin to fall apart in 14 minutes. Velkar slammed his hand against the table. "Enough!" But it was not enough. It was too late. The fear had changed direction. Maya finally spoke. "Senator Thorne, Earth recognizes your statement." Arlen looked at her screen. "Do not mistake this for friendship, Ambassador." "I do not. I mistake it for wisdom." Outside, across neutral space, the human fleet remained still, not advancing, not retreating, waiting. That patience became its own pressure. Velkar looked around the chamber and saw what he had refused to see before. The assembly was not ready to fight Earth, and now many of its members were no longer willing to pretend. The coalition had cracked, but it had not yet fallen. Velkar still had authority, Morvain still had pride, and Maya Sen was about to enter the locked room with peace in one hand and a final warning in the other.
The emergency chambers stayed silent after Arlen Thorne spoke. No one wanted to be the next voice. Every delegation understood the danger now. Supporting Velkar could mean war. Opposing him could mean the collapse of old alliances. Then the sealed doors opened. 2 security officers stepped inside first. Behind them came Ambassador Maya Sen. She wore the same Navy diplomatic coat, the same small Earth pin, and the same calm expression. But the room reacted differently now. Before, many had seen her as the representative of a young species under pressure. Now she entered like someone who had never been trapped. Velkar turned sharply. "You were not invited." Maya looked at him. "No, but this meeting is about Earth, so Earth is here." One officer moved as if to block her path, but Morvain raised one hand.
Removing her now would not look strong, it would look frightened. Maya walked to the empty side of the table and stood instead of sitting. "I will be direct," she said. "The outlaw order is finished. The only question is whether the assembly ends it with dignity or loses more trying to defend it." Velkar's eyes hardened. "You speak as if you are giving terms." "I am." The words were soft, but the room felt them. Maya placed a thin data crystal on the table. Its light opened into a simple document. Earth will not surrender its ships, weapons, defense stations, or command systems. That part is not open for discussion. A few delegates shifted uncomfortably. Maya continued. "However, Earth is willing to withdraw visible fleet formations from the neutral line after the order is suspended. Border monitoring stations will be restored. Joint observers may verify that no assembly crews were harmed and no permanent damage was done." Siraven looked at the document, then at Maya. "You are offering restoration before trust." Maya nodded. "We are offering proof that restraint was intentional from the beginning." Morvain finally spoke. "And what does Earth want?" Maya turned to him. "Full membership." The room changed again. For 18 years, Earth had remained under provisional status, useful enough to trade with, innovative enough to study, dangerous enough to limit, but never equal. Velkar gave a cold laugh. "You reveal hidden fleets, disable border systems, enter a closed meeting without permission, and now ask for reward?" Maya's eyes did not leave his. "No, we are asking the Assembly to correct the mistake that created this crisis." She looked around the table. "You treated Earth like a weapon to be locked away, but Earth built medical networks for your colonies, repaired failing trade relays, shared engine safety systems, and protected border routes your own fleets could not cover. You accepted our help while denying our voice." A Nareth delegate lowered his gaze. Maya's voice grew quieter, more emotional, but never weak. "We did not build Stone Vale because we wanted to frighten you. We built it because history taught us a hard lesson. People who depend on permission to defend themselves eventually meet someone who says no." No one interrupted. Even Velkar stayed silent. Maya touched the data crystal again. "Our proposal is simple. Suspend the order. Recognize Earth as a full member with equal vote and equal protection. In return, our fleet steps back to agreed neutral coordinates. Site 9 releases your systems, and this day becomes a warning remembered, not a war mourned." Morvain stared at the document. He had expected humans to demand revenge. Instead, they demanded respect. That was harder to defeat. Maya stepped back from the table. "I will wait outside, but not forever." Earth had not come to beg. It had come with proof, discipline, and a line it would never cross backward. Now the Assembly had to choose between losing pride or losing peace.
Maya Sen left the locked room and waited in the corridor. She did not pace. She did not check messages. She simply stood beside the tall glass wall overlooking the Assembly Capitol. Outside, thousands of lights moved through the great orbital city, carrying people who had no idea how close their leaders had come to turning one order into a war. Behind the closed doors, the argument began. Velkar spoke first. His voice was sharp, controlled, and filled with wounded pride. "If we accept these terms, every species in this assembly will learn that force can rewrite law." Arlen Thorne answered him calmly. "No, they will learn that bad law can be stopped before it becomes blood." Velkar turned on him. "You call this wisdom because you are afraid. I call it wisdom because I am afraid and still thinking clearly." That struck harder than anger. Morvain sat near the end of the table, silent. He had spent so long designing the human disarmament order that he almost could not imagine the assembly without it. To him, the order had been a masterpiece of pressure,
clean, legal, efficient. But Earth had not broken under pressure. It had revealed that the pressure had always been aimed in the wrong direction. A military delegate from the Cauldron Worlds opened the latest sensor report. The human fleet has not advanced. Their weapons remain cold. Their formation is defensive. Velkar snapped. They disabled our border stations. Siraven spoke carefully from near the intelligence screen, and preserved medical channels inside those stations before we even requested it. Their demonstration was designed to frighten us, yes, but also to avoid casualties. Velkar stared at her. You speak for Earth now? No, Sira said. I speak for evidence. The words created a small silence. Morvain finally looked up. If we refuse, he said quietly, we must be ready to enforce the refusal. Every delegate understood what that meant. Ships, losses, broken trade routes, burning stations, possibly worlds choosing sides. The assembly had survived for centuries because most crises ended in procedure. This one had escaped procedure. It had become something older and more honest. Power facing power. Velkar tried one final argument. Earth planned this for decades. Does that not disturb you? Maya's voice came through the intercom from the corridor before anyone answered. The channel had been left open by mistake, or perhaps by someone's courage. It should disturb you, but ask why we believed we needed to. No one moved. Maya continued, her voice lower now. Stone Veil was not born from ambition, it was born from memory. Every human generation has stories about people who were told to trust powerful rulers, surrender protection, and wait for fairness. Too often, fairness arrived too late. This time, there was pain in her voice, not weakness, pain that had hardened into policy. Velkar did not answer. The room no longer belonged to his pride. Morvain closed his eyes for 1 second, then opened them. We need a vote. The statement felt like defeat before it was official. One by one, the delegates entered their positions. Suspend the human disarmament order. Begin review of Earth's full membership. Restore border systems under joint verification. Require human fleet withdrawal to agreed neutral coordinates after suspension. The first votes appeared. Then more. Then enough. Velkar watched the numbers climb against him. The order he had announced with such certainty was being buried by the same system he had used to pass it. When the final count locked, Arlen released a long breath. Sira looked down, not celebrating, only relieved. And outside in the corridor, Maya Sin closed her eyes for 1 moment. Not because Earth had won, because no one had died. The order was suspended, but peace was not complete. Now Earth had to prove its restraint was real, and one final signal from Site 9 would decide whether the assembly remembered fear or trust.
Maya Sen opened her eyes when the chamber doors unlocked. Arlen Thorne stepped out first. His face carried exhaustion, not victory. Behind him came other delegates, speaking in low voices, avoiding the cameras waiting at the far end of the corridor. High Speaker Velkar did not come out with them. Neither did Kael Morvain. That told Maya enough. Arlen stopped beside her. The order is suspended, he said. Full membership review begins immediately. Border systems will be restored under joint observation. Maya gave a small nod. Then Earth will honor its side. Arlen studied her face. You knew this would happen. No, we prepared so it could. That answer stayed with him. A few minutes later, the official message reached New Geneva. General Elias Ward read it in the same windowless command room where Stone Veil had begun. Around him, officers waited for his order. Nobody celebrated. They all understood that the most dangerous moments often came after a crisis seemed solved. Ward opened a secure channel. Elias. Her face appeared at once. "The order is suspended," Ward said. "Begin step-back sequence, slow and visible, no sudden movements." Voss nodded. "Understood. Weapons remain cold, engines low burn. We move like people who came to prevent war, not start one." "Exactly." Then Ward opened another channel. "Omar, restore the border." At Site 9, Omar Halim sat before the black console, his shoulders heavy from exhaustion. The assembly hummed around him like a living thing. For hours he had held the assembly's border network in the palm of his hand without crushing it. Now he entered the release code. One by one, the 12 monitoring stations came back online. At Outpost Karen, Duty Officer Leth Mar stared as her screens returned. Sensor lines restored, communication links cleared, power readings normalized. No damage, no missing data. Only one final message appeared in the maintenance log. "System interruption ended. No harm intended. Let this be enough." Leth read it twice, then she sat back, shaken in a way training could not fix. Across neutral space, human ships began to move, not away in fear, away by choice. The formations turned slowly, with the calm discipline of a force that knew exactly what it was. Assembly sensors tracked them, and for the first time, no one in the capital called the movement retreat. It was restraint made visible. Inside the assembly command room, Morvain watched the fleet withdraw from the display. Velkar stood behind him, silent. "You lost control of the room," Velkar said at last. Morvain did not look back. "No, we never had control. We only had ignorance." Velkar's eyes narrowed. "You sound impressed." Morvain's face remained hard, but his voice had changed. "I sound corrected." That was the closest thing he could offer. Sira Ven stood near the intelligence console, reading the restored border data. Earth had done exactly what it promised. No hidden damage, no dead crews, no destroyed stations, only proof. Maya entered the command room again, this time with permission. Velkar looked at her with open bitterness. "You have made the assembly look weak." Maya shook her head. "No, we gave the assembly a chance to look wise." Velkar had no answer. Morvain did. "What happens now?" Maya looked toward the sensor display, where the last visible human formations were moving back into deeper gray space. "Now we see if your people can accept an equal they failed to frighten." For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Sira Ven sent the restored border report to every delegation. The facts could not be softened. Earth had shown reach, then it had stepped back. That combination was harder to dismiss than any threat. The trap had closed without blood. Earth had forced the assembly to see the truth and then allowed it to breathe. But one final choice remained. Would humanity enter the assembly as a feared weapon, or as the equal voice it had always demanded to be? Maya Sen did not answer Morvain immediately. She watched the sensor display until the last visible human formation faded into neutral distance. The ships were still out there, but no longer pressed against the assembly's fear. That mattered. Power was easy to reveal. Control was harder to prove. Across the capital station, the news began to spread. The human disarmament order had been suspended. Border stations were restored. Earth's fleets were withdrawing to agreed coordinates. No shots had been fired. For some species, it sounded like relief. For others, humiliation. For Earth, it sounded like survival. 6 hours later, the full assembly gathered again in the great chamber. This time, Maya's seat was not empty. She sat at the same small table as before, behind older member worlds, under the same cold lights, but the room did not look at her the same way. Delegates whispered less. Some avoided her eyes. Some watched with respect they were not ready to admit. High Speaker Velkar stood at the central platform. His voice was controlled, but the pride had drained from it. The Assembly recognizes the suspension of the Human Disarmament Order, pending permanent legal review, he said. The Assembly also opens immediate proceedings regarding Earth's elevation from provisional status to full member status. The words echoed through the chamber. For 18 years, Earth had been useful but unequal. Now the same hall that had tried to disarm it was being forced to recognize it. Cale Morvain stood near the upper gallery, silent. His plan had failed, but it had taught him something his reports never had. Humanity was not dangerous because it loved war. Humanity was dangerous because it remembered what happened when peace depended only on another power's mercy. Senator Arlen Thorne rose from his seat. "The Ver Republic supports Earth's full membership," he said. "Not because Earth frightened us, because Earth showed restraint when fear would have been easier." One by one, other delegations followed. The Narith Union, the Caldron worlds, the smaller border states. Then even some who had voted for the order lowered their heads and changed their position. Sira Ven watched from the intelligence section. She had no vote, but she allowed herself one quiet breath of relief. Her warning was late, but not wasted. Finally, Velkar called for the vote. This one took longer than the disarmament order. It should have. Respect should never be rushed like fear. When the final result appeared, the chamber fell silent. Earth had been accepted as full member of the Celestial Assembly. Maya closed her eyes for only a second, not in victory, in memory. She thought of the hidden ships, the silent crews, the engineers at Site 9, the officers under mountains, and the generations who had built Stone Vale, knowing they might never be thanked for it. Then she stood. "Earth accepts full membership," she said. "We will bring our voice, our knowledge, our defense, and our responsibility to this assembly." She looked across the hall. "But understand this clearly. We did not come here to rule. We did not come here to kneel. We came here to stand." No one interrupted. Far away at Site 9, Omar Halim powered the system down to quiet watch mode. In deep space, Admiral Voss watched the stars from the bridge of the Resolute. In New Geneva, General Ward finally stepped outside and felt morning air on his face. The crisis was over. Not forever. No peace ever was. But the Assembly had learned the lesson Earth needed it to learn. Humanity could be patient. Humanity could be polite. Humanity could be peaceful. But humanity would never be helpless by request. The Celestial Assembly tried to measure Earth by the weapons it could see. Earth answered by revealing the discipline it could not. And from that day forward, when the galaxy spoke of humanity, it no longer asked how many ships Earth had hidden. It asked a wiser question. How much had Earth chosen not to use?